Is that a hell yes? Thank you very much. And a real PvP system and not a squeezed in one?
If there's one single contribution I want to make to this game, it is to make damn sure that happens day one.
There you go. Now good rules!
Hi, I'd like to see race play a little bit more of a role. I play the race card, but I'd like to see.
How long are you thinking that one?
No, I really would like to be. If you're a certain race, I'd love to be around a lot of that. If you're elves, I'd love to be all around elves, and as you progress through the game, perhaps later, to make the player combat a little bit more friendly, so you can find more people to play with. Perhaps you build up to that through some sort of quest where you share with other people. But I think a lot of us old EQ players remember that first time we saw maybe an Ixar come into a Kelethan or something, and that was really kind of, wow, that's what they look like. So I think that immersion would be nice to keep at race, and to a lesser extent, maybe religion, a little bit more of but I'd like to see that to keep it more immersive.
It's like moving backwards.
Two quick things. One, character balance. A class-based system is inherently unbalanced because you have different roles to play. Wizards shouldn't tank warriors. There's a reason that they're weak. So don't try to balance everything. Two, character art. I'm a big guy on manly men or girly girl characters. Make them pretty. Lineage 2 could do it. The Koreans, the Japanese do it all the time. Bring some of that into
Now I want to be able to roll on everyone.
Go for it. Let me troll.
So Clint, how about building an automated class balance system where it takes back player sentiment off the forum so we never have to do any balance, it just changes immediately. And then you guys can't blame us because it's your fault. Back off, alright? Yeah, and no forums with EQNext, that's for sure.
One thing I'd like to ask is, class definitions have been a major setback in EQ1, I've noticed in the years. I mean, again, I also play Beast Lord, and for 3 years we fought to try to get a definition for a class, and we can't. I'd like to see less of that, and trade skills, like one gentleman said, are pretty much the basis of how a lot of us do make currency. Myself sitting with 20 million platinum because I have nothing else to do, because I have almost 7,000 AAs and literally nothing to do. EQ is getting way too easy, and I would like to see more challenge. 2 months ago I made a shaman. 16 days played, 1,500 AAs completely converting gear. Exactly. It's ridiculous. So I'd just like to see more of a challenge and more rewards for putting in effort, because character's done, I have nothing to do. It'd be nice to actually have something to further my character even more. Even if it's something minimal that really won't empower the characters, it's just for personal preference, if you will.
I do have to make a comment. Remember that you're talking about a 12-year-old game and a 6-year-old game. So a lot of you that are saying it's too easy now are at the top of the top of the top. And you try to be above that kind of case. So just remember remember your early days in EverQuest, and that's the way it's going to be in a new game too. You're going to be, starting at the bottom, and, struggling for every single thing you get.
You should start out with a simple game where ease of access for the new player and it should become progressively harder and more challenging, not easier. I'm bored.
Amy, I thought we talked about this.
Yes, Mother.
Kari from Crushbone EQ2. One thing I would absolutely love to see. Do not lock lore storyline items so that they require raiding. If the boss needs to be killed on a raid, that's fine. but give the solo or groupers an optional investigation quest or something where they can follow in after the raid and get the story themselves and see what happened.
Hi, Drew Taylor. I'm with Bloodsworn on Luke and Deliver server. One thing that I absolutely loved when I got involved with EQ2 about 5 years ago was the fact that it was an expansive world and it had role-playing opportunities. I would like to see more interaction with the NPC side of it, where there's actual role-playing involved, because when you're going through a quest, you end up clicking on an NPC, you get the basic quest, and you move on. But you don't really invest any type of emotion or connection with those NPCs, really, because there isn't very much of it. You read the block of text, and you move on. I would really like to see more interaction with those NPCs, a much more richer storyline to some of these NPCs, so that you do get that connection. You feel like you're part of that world. It's more dynamic to you. You know, what exactly happens with this NPC? And when you come back to that city, there might be something new with that NPC. It'd be nice to have that kind of dynamic environment as opposed to just your fellow players. So is there any way that we can, as role players, be more entrenched and more connected with the world that's coming?
I just had something to say about that. I really feel like the MMOs in general really need to change how we're delivering the lore, because like you're saying, you got that block of text, and how often in EQ1 did you see the block of text, find the bracketed word, spit it back at him, and like, okay, now I've got the quest, and you move on down the road. I really think that delivery system is flawed, in that I think most people will they'll do it as quickly as possible, right? Because you want to get to level 80, and there's other people that will read, but by and large, most people skip past it because they don't feel like reading. So I think that something we need to really do is change the delivery method and have the story really happen around you, as opposed to having to read the text on the screen. I mean, because in a lot of ways, that's sort of a holdover from old MUDs and stuff, where it was all text. Like that was sort of the concept. You know, that's what EQ was originally, was a 3D MUD in a lot of ways. And I think we've evolved past that, and we need to change the storytelling at the same time so that it's a more active storytelling process, as opposed to just passively reading text and things like that. As an example, like if those of you who played BioShock, they really fed you a lot of the lore with the way the world looked, the things that were happening in front of you graphically, as well as sort of the stuff that was, the talking that was going on in like the journals and stuff. I think that kind of thing is a lot better for what you're talking about, as opposed to like, you know, having to read through quest text or whatever. So.
Well, one thing I really like some of the standalone games like Trinity is the fact that when you're talking with an NPC, you end up having a pseudo cutscene where it seems like there's an interplay.
Sort of the cinematic experience you're talking about.
Yeah. You end up having that, you know, the camera pans back, you see your character talking with another, you know, with the character that you're interacting with. It seems more real, more cinematic. And that kind of involvement is what draws players into the game.
Sure, absolutely.
So maybe we could get something like that. That would really, I think, enrich it.
Yeah.
Hi, Darkus, I play EQ1 and a little bit of EQ2 and a lot of other games and stuff. So one of the questions that you had for us was sort of what did you like and what would we change and stuff. And so I've got two quick comments. One is, one of the barriers to EverQuest 1 right now is sort of this never-ending grind. Okay, you get another 1,000 AA points, another 1,000 AA points, and one thing I would change if I was to do it all over again myself would be a limited pool where you have a lot of options and you can pick only a certain number out of that to customize the character to how you like it. And then the other comment was actually, went back to somebody's comment about races and stuff. And sort of just the envisioning of the races. I think, like, for example, everybody I talk with agrees EQ2 XR rock. They look incredibly awesome. On the same hand, the EQ1 Bashir look way better than the EQ2 Karen, which everybody says look like humans with fat lips. And so it might make better sense to, like, poll the community as a whole and say, what character styles did you like better? What was better? And give barbarians their kilts back.
Oh, yes. You had your hand up for about 10 minutes.
Well, you kind of got to it already, but I was just going to say, I'm EQ2 player. I've been at it for like 2 years or so. Karen really needs to look a little bit better, and I really hope that the races stay in. One thing I really like about EQ2 is the fact that I can grab any race and then make whatever class I want. And endgame, I'm going to be as good as pretty much any of the other ones out there. It's not like some of the other games where if you are not a dwarf healer or, you know, exactly that, no one's going to want you. So that's one thing I really liked about EQ2. And the other thing I wanted to say was, I know there's a lot of people here who've been playing for a very long time, but I'm in a small group, probably about 11 people that have only been playing for a year or so, and we struggle every day to get to the end of dungeons that are only like level 70, we're like level 90, because we don't have the gear, we don't have the stuff, and it is actually quite a challenge when you're not equipped. But but I do really like the game because we can still try. And we're also really big on adventuring and trying to poke our heads into places we really shouldn't.
I couldn't agree more about the Kara and EQ2. I think you'd be really, really excited about what we have upcoming.
There's one thing I'd like to ask with the upcoming expansion. Is it possible, one, during beta, keep non-SOE personnel away from god powers? It kind of defeats the purpose